Hello, friends. So, as you can see, I'm at home today in front of my closet, and it's the first day of the second lockdown after the double mutated COVID-19 virus infiltrated the country. So, I hope you're staying safe wherever you are in the world. And today, I'd like to talk to you about the Dogman series by Dave Pilkey. Um, yeah, so it's interesting because I realized that in a couple of primary schools in Singapore, the Dogman series, this is the 11th book in the series and the 10th Dogman book. So the rest are the ones over here that you might or might not be familiar with. And it's interesting because I realized that it's been banned in a few primary schools. So in Singapore, there is a reading period in schools where students spend an hour after morning assembly reading books in an effort to increase their vocabulary or general knowledge. But from a long time ago, I think comic books were banned, and recently, some parents have told me that in some primary schools this book is banned, and it's interesting because it became contraband. So the kids began to pass it around. So even kids who did not have the book, they would borrow from their friends, read it, enjoy it. It's very interesting. It's full of jokes. Um, and if you were to pop by our local Popular or Kinokuniya before this lockdown happened, you'll see books sitting on the floor, flipping through the pages, and it's actually really touching. Um, and I'd like to talk to you today about why I think that restricting books, especially this kind, would be a cause for concern. Um, so the reason why the teachers banned the book was because of some reasons I've heard it's language. So some of the words used are made up words, nonsense words. So they don't want the students to pick it up. Another reason would be that it's just comics. Um, it's not it's not proper book reading material. And I think also, I don't know if people talk about violence, but it's about uh it's about the criminal justice system. So there is a policeman dog, and who has the head of a dog and a body of a human. And some of the scenes might be a bit violent, but I think it mainly is about the language part that I think seems to form the basis of it. So let me give you an example. I think it's mainly onomatopoeia. Um, Hang on a second. So yeah, and it's a little bit violent. So if you can see here, there's a lot of punching involved. There's yeah, and okay, I can't find it now, but yeah, there's a lot of onomatopoeia, so I think that constitutes bad English. So yeah, I like to talk about why um, it's not necessarily bad per se if the students are engaged. Actually, the contents of Dogman is quite inspiring. This book in particular, the 10th one in the series, they talk about the criminal justice system, divorce and abandonment. And the dynamics is quite interesting. So Cat Kid, this little child here, he spends half the week with Dogman and half the week with PD, his father. And yeah, it's really interesting to see um, current realities. The divorce rate is increasing in Singapore, and to see the realities reflected in the story, and also the criminal justice system, especially in this book. So in this book, the book explores why the father, Cat, PD, became a criminal and how he um, stopped his life of crime. So it was basically his mother, and yeah. So I think it's important to I think it's important for adults to have conversation with children about the material they're reading instead of unilaterally banning books per se, because the kids are going to consume it anyway, and especially in this day of, in this 21st century, there's the internet. You can't really ban many things. So if you want to develop a critical thinking population, it's more important to talk to kids about what they're reading instead of telling them what they can and cannot read. And in some discussions I've had with friends recently, and in other seminars or panels I've attended, it seems to me that what children want is, if books have problematic content, that it's discussed with them, or there's a content warning. So like if there's violence, sex or drugs, that to let them have agency, have a choice in what they want to read. But if the parents find it inappropriate to tell them about it first and let them decide after. But of course, I mean, there are many caveats to this, right? Like if the kid is too young, it's definitely better for the parents to have a say in what they consume, what content they consume, whether it's video games or books, right? But I think like if they are of a certain cognitive level, like if they are, I don't know, 8 years old and above, I think we should give them agency and a choice to decide, because the more something is banned, the more they want to read. And this book is definitely contraband in many schools, and that makes the student even want to read it more. And I think without having a proper conversation, it just inculcates a sense of, I don't know, I feel like censorship starts at a very young age here. And even in comic books in schools, that seems to be the case. So, yeah, okay, I guess in this video my thoughts are a bit unformulated. I hope I got the message across. And I'd like to explore this theme in future videos with other books I find in bookstores locally. Some have content warnings, so that's a different story altogether. So in this case, these books are on the shelves and anyone can flip through them. They're not shrink wrap. I have books that have parent advisory or mature audience only, but they're clearly targeted at children, and I'll show you some examples in the future. And I think it's important to have a conversation about this, because kids are going to consume content anyway. It's better for us to have a dialogue about it with the children in our lives. So let me know what you think about censoring content or restricting books to children in the comments. I'd like to have a conversation. I love to have a conversation with all of you guys. And shout out to all my kids who brought my attention to this comic. I've got the whole series and I enjoy every single one of it, and it explores themes that are very adult. So like in this book, it's about how love is eternal. So there's this quote by Vincent van Gogh at the beginning. It says that love is something eternal. It may change in aspect, but not in essence. So that's what the book was inspired by. And in earlier books they talk about friendship and all of that. So I think that the books explore very heavy topics in a very light-hearted medium. These comics, and the comics can be a bit ridiculous. This whole book has jokes about diarrhea and poo, and it can be quite offensive to some adults maybe, but it's very funny. So thanks to all my kids who told me about this book. It's an interesting experience, and I actually chuckle out loud reading this series many times, and I've also been touched quite a bit. It's I think one book especially brought tears to my eyes. I can't remember which one, but so if you're an adult with children who like Dogman books, I highly recommend you read them and let it sit with you, and let the themes hopefully they resonate with you. They certainly did with me. So and to all my friends in Singapore, I hope you stay safe in this lockdown. And so I'll see you in the next video. Bye.